my name is Sandra Leah, and I am a recovering food addict who's lost over 100 pounds 14 years ago. And I want to share with you everything that I learned along the way and what I learn each and every day working with recovering food addicts. So today I want to talk about something that's a little bit taboo, and that's relapse. Relapse is part of almost every addict's journey, including the food addict. And I think that it's a taboo subject because people believe if we don't talk about relapse, maybe it won't happen. Sort of like with drugs and smoking. If we don't talk to our children about it, maybe they won't try. And we know how that works out. So I want to tell you that it is a normal part of almost every food addict's journey, and I don't wish it on anyone, but knowing that it can just be a normal part of the journey will help you should it happen. So I've had 2 relapses in the last 14 years, and my first one after 8 years of recovery was significant, and it lasted far longer than it should have because I was filled with embarrassment and shame, and I thought, how, when everyone around me is able to maintain this recovery for years and decades, how did I mess up at 8 years? How did I go from really getting it and really overcoming my addiction to right back where I started? And that's a fallacy. You never go back to where you started. You never go back to square one. You can never unlearn the things you've learned. You can never go back the steps that you've taken forward. So I try to find gifts in everything in my life. It's either suffering or finding meaning. So I'm going to tell you about my big major relapse. So it happened after a breakup, and those of you that know me well, when I end a significant relationship, I usually take a lot of time for me, a lot of self-care, a lot of adventure, a lot of pushing myself out of comfort zone. And so that was the case. I had just ended maybe a 4 or 5 year relationship, very significant, and I decided, I'm gonna run a half marathon. I had always wanted to, and I never had the time to train, and I did a 10-day silent meditation retreat, and I did some amazing travel. But this marathon, which was solely about accomplishing something great, resulted in a lot of weight loss. And that was not my intention. And as you all know, my weight is none of my business. My business is to move my body and eat whole, fresh foods. But one day I went to put my pants on and they fell off. And I was like, I really want to know what I weigh. I really want to know how much I've lost, how much, because I know it's over 100 pounds, but I don't know the right amount, and my pants are falling off, and it wasn't intentional. And I just built up this story that it was going to be fine, that I was going to get on the scale and it would be fine. And so I stepped on the scale, and I was 130 pounds. You have to understand, I had not been 130 pounds since grade 7. So what do you think my reaction was? Well, most of you would believe that it would be elation and excitement and the lowest adult weight in my entire life, that I would be beaming. But no. See, my goal weight was always 120. And I thought, wow, I'm only 10 pounds away. I'm so close. I can do it. I can finally get to that magic number that I had let go of. So you see, that scale never made me happy. Didn't matter what number was going to show up. It was never going to make me happy, and it didn't make me happy. And I did something that I knew was absolutely wrong for me. I started focusing on the weight. And as we say in the 12-step rooms, when you focus on your recovery, you lose weight, which I had proven now for 7 or 8 years. When you focus on weight, you lose recovery. And that's exactly what happened to me. So at this time, people were leaving. I was part of a 12-step program called OA, and everybody was leaving and going to a new 12-step program that had just hit the scene in Toronto called FA. And so I'm not a member of either, and I don't represent either, but I'm going to tell you my own specific experience. So I entered the rooms of FA, and when you enter there, you get a sponsor, and they give you a meal plan that your sponsor follows you, and then they tell you how much you're going to weigh. So they asked me how tall I was. I was, I'm 5'2", and they said, well, you're going to weigh 112 pounds. And I thought, well, that's better than 120. Sign me up. And so I followed a very strict, regimented diet. I had to let go of exercise as they recommend because the meal plan, though it was a good meal plan for my body type and my level of exercise, and because I had just run a half marathon months before and I was weightlifting, my metabolism was at such a place that it wasn't enough food. And it didn't matter because I'm like, I need to get to 120 and then I need to get to 112. So the fact that I am constantly and forever hungry doesn't matter. I was just fixed on that number and I wanted, and I had a new number now because guess I got to 120, but it didn't matter. See, that scale never makes me happy. Now I had a new target, 112, and I had this magic meal plan that was going to get me there. So every night I'd go to bed hungry, so hungry, and it would keep me up at night. And you know, it was in those moments when I would toss and turn and I'd be so hungry and I wasn't going to give in that I realized there are people out there who suffer with food scarcity, who have no choice but to go to bed hungry. And that was a really humbling moment for me because I was doing this self-induced. What was happening in the background though in my brain, my brain believed I was going through a famine. And your mind doesn't know if the famine is true or artificial. This was an artificial famine. I didn't have food scarcity, but it was self-inflicted. And so in the background, my brain was driving up the desire to eat, driving up my hunger, driving up my desire to find food, and not just any food, because your brain is super efficient, foods that are high in sugar, high in calories, so that I get out of this famine and I would survive, because famine was a real threat in human history. And this is the same brain we carried tens of thousands of years ago. So I woke up on a Saturday morning, and you need to understand this, that every relapse starts with a lie. Every relapse. And so I ate my breakfast, and by 10:30 I was hungry, feeling like I was starving, and my brain started cycling through the lies. Have some more breakfast. I was like, nope, sticking to my plan. Have fruit. Fruit's okay. Nope, sticking to my plan. You've lost so much weight. Why don't you just have some food? Nope, not going to do that. And it was cycling through all these different lies. And then my brain hit the jackpot. At least that's what my brain thought. It said to me, you know what? For these next 2 days, just eat whatever you want, because how much weight can you gain in 2 days? See, back to the weight. And after the 2 days are done, you'll go back to your meeting on Monday, you'll go back to your plan on Monday, and you have this magic meal plan that's gonna get you 112 pounds. So what does it matter just for 2 days? And I went, yep. And I believed the lie, and I was off to the races. And I was like a junkie looking for the next fix. And I ingested foods that I hadn't eaten in 7 or 8 years, and I got incredibly sick. And I couldn't stop. And there were moments when my heart was racing. I thought I was going to pass out. I'm throwing up, not because I'm making myself throw up, but I can't even keep the food down. And then I'd be out to get some more, and I'd be out to get some more, and I'd be out to get some more. And so that lie that said it was going to be for 2 days turned into a year and a half. And a year and a half turned into, well, how much weight can you gain in 2 days? I gained 70 pounds. And so that's what relapse looks like. And I didn't want to seek help because I thought I was the only one. But had I known that it was part of the journey, I would have received and looked for and let go of the shame in order to get better. But instead, I suffered for a year and a half. Out of that time, I did get pregnant. So, but the baby didn't weigh 70 pounds. So, but that was the blessing that came out of that relapse. Whenever you're in relapse, the food isn't the only thing that goes spiraling out of control, but gave a phone call to that boyfriend that I had ended the relationship with earlier, and we got together and we made a baby. And she is the greatest blessing, the greatest gift in my life. She is my Sophia, and she is my proof that dreams come true. So that year and a half and those 70 pounds that I, again, had to release was not senseless suffering, but I found meaning. And from my relapses, I gave birth to not only my daughter, Sophia, but I gave birth to these programs, Food Addiction Recovery. It is a place for people to go when 12-step programs don't work for you or 12-step programs aren't for you. I don't believe in saying to people, just go out there and suffer some more. I have a program that is available to everyone, that is the practical how, and it is the living with peace and neutrality with food. So please head on over to my website, sandraelia.com. So that's SANDRAELIA.com. Sign up for my newsletter. You'll get my YouTube videos and promotions. I want you all to know that I have a retreat coming up on September 28th, 29th, and 30th. This is a great way to jumpstart your recovery, get completely immersed in a way of living. And the great thing is I'm offering $400 in bonuses to the first 10 people who sign up. So we're already at number 7. So you would need to do this quite quickly. But the $400 in bonuses includes my 8-week food addiction recovery program. You would consider that continuing care, a 4-week end of addictive eating. So this is the what to do between meetings, and a personalized one-on-one coaching session with me to zone in on your personal struggles and overcome them with strategies geared specifically to your life. So I hope to see you there at the retreat. Know that love heals all things, including relapses, and I'm sending you love.